All right, and we're finally back with the podcast. We got our great guest here, my great friend, Noah Toly, the man, the myth, the legend.
The man, the myth, the legend.
We grew up playing sports together, I think, since grade 6, grade 5,
Grade
maybe?
5, I think.
Yeah.
Grade 5. That was our first when we went to the NBC camp in Olds.
Yeah, but then we
Grade
played
6.
spring ball that
Spring
year
ball.
too, so yeah.
I remember, I was thinking about this the other day. Do you remember, so you wore KD3s. I remember you used to wear the black
and the blue, yeah.
I know exactly. But I remember, that was the Saturday league. You had that sleeve.
Oh, yeah. I always had the extra swag.
But you also did tattoos, like you did like a fake tattoo sleeve with Arthur.
Oh no! Someone drew on me.
Drew on you,
Yeah,
like a sleeve, and I remember.
I didn't forgot about.
I remember that. It's like
that.
I do remember that. That was I think that was before we really knew each other.
That was wow. That's a crazy memory, right?
That's the shoes. That's the shoes that kick, and that's how I remember is through sneakers.
Right.
So like I remember you wearing the KD3s, and then that was in the Patterson gym. We were playing you, and I remember you had this like fake tattooed sleeve. So
that's hilarious. So how would you say sports has affected the rest of your life?
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't know. That's a deep question because I think everything from my life, like. I think relationships that you build, like, I mean, it's like every one of my best friends to this day was met through sports. There's not one, friend that I have, like a core friend like you, guys that I grew up with that weren't through sports. So I think connections first is really the main thing, relationships that you build from sports. But I also think like learning to lose.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like, man, because there's nothing better than putting an 11-year-old or 10-year-old that doesn't really get losing, putting them in a sport, having them work really, really hard, practicing, winning games, and then losing a game. It's just like, I feel like sports, as cheesy and as everyone probably would say, I think sports is life. I think everything you do in sports is. I don't know if what do you think?
I mean, I would agree. I mean, you can even just say like being a part of a team, right? It could be as little as pick up basketball to, who you played with all growing up, right? Like you said, you can practice all season, put in, sweat, blood and tears like they all say.
Yeah, 100%.
But and you could go win 30 games, but you lose that championship. Yeah. And that's you feel like you lost every game. Yeah. But that, like you said, that's life. Sometimes you are going to feel that way no matter the work that you put in. And that's just part of it. There's ups and there's downs.
No, that's true. And I think, team connections, learning to lose. I think there's this phrase that I really love. It's just, learning to win with gratitude and lose with grace. And I think, I don't know, if I didn't play sports, I think I would have a lot harder time losing in life if I had a foundation. I sometimes think, and no offense to anyone, like I sometimes think like, how did you not like have your child play sports at some point?
Right.
I don't, like, how do you like learn certain things without some kind of sport? And I guess sports can mean even like band.
Choir, that's a team.
Like anything that has to do with letting someone down or not, and showing up for someone.
Yeah, something more than yourself, right? And putting in effort and either getting results or not getting the results that you want. Because again, like we know that does go on. I mean, that even, same thing with school. That's more of an individual thing, but like same thing. You're putting in work and trying to get the results that you might get or you might not. But that's life, and everyone goes through that with their work, with personal relationships, and that is just part of it. And I like what you said about your quote about winning and losing, because I even know for myself that there's been points in my life where I've either been too high on myself and, you stack up a bunch of wins and then you don't want to always win gracefully, right? You want to kind of shove it in people's faces, but you quickly learn that after you fall once or twice that you should do that.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to feel a loss.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
So,
well, it's like I think it was CP3 who said it or something like that. He was just like, I hate losing more than I like to win.
Of course.
And I think that's
a big thing. That's a very common thing you hear in sports too, because winning is good, but that feeling of that loss is just more than whatever the excitement could be of winning that game or winning that thing.
I still crunch my fists at some losses that I've taken in high school basketball or even my senior season of football, and I just still feel it. You just still kind of feel this sense of man, frick, I really.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. So I get that for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, that being said, competition is so important, and I mean, I don't mean to be one of those people. I mean, I'm only 24 years old, but as a coach and seeing younger generations now, a lot of times you don't see competition being pushed as hard as you used to, because people are scared to let their kids win or especially lose.
Yeah.
So they don't get those feelings as much as they probably should.
Yeah.
But we're going to go forward, and I should have said this in the introduction. This dude is the master of the shoes. Like he said, his memory comes with the kicks. Since I've known you, you're talking about the Jordan 4s or the LeBrons or whatever. Yeah. You got them all, and you don't only got them all, you know everything about it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I think it's very interesting because not many kids, around us have taken that as personally as you have, right?
Yeah.
You really love shoes. You don't just like putting on shoes to look cool.
Yeah.
You love shoes and what they're about. So tell me how you even got started, just your love for shoes.
And this is the topic when you first reached out to me, before I came on the podcast, when you first reached out to me and you were kind of I think you replied to my story or something about sneakers and how you wanted to talk about it in your podcast. I was finally, someone wants to hear about my passion. I get so excited. I have people, so I have my part of my collection in Utah and then part of my collection at Lethbridge, and a good portion of my collection is in Utah, and I'll have people that will ask me, hey, can I come over and see your collection? And I get I just get, it's so exciting for me. But I think sneakers for me, like you said earlier, I think from the get-go when I was young, I always loved obviously I love sports, but I loved sports with swag. There's just there's two difference. There's a difference between the Miami Heat in 2013 versus the San Antonio Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
There's some pull to the Miami swag for me.
Right.
I mean, I know you
of course.
So I love my
Jack.
Yeah. Letterman.
Yeah.
Ordered from the NBA tonight. I remember that. But no, I think that's just an example. I think for me, I was always attracted to the swag.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think sneakers for me was kind of an outlet. And it wasn't even just sneakers. When I played soccer growing up, I needed to have the best cleats. And I remember I got in trouble by my coach because throughout the game in soccer, I would just be looking down at my shoes.
Checking the
scuffs, just making sure I look fresh. And so that was always a thing for me. But growing up, this is where it really started. Growing up with my sisters, they both played basketball, and then my brother played basketball. But, I grew up going to basketball tournaments my whole life. And I would remember players, this is when I'm 7, 8, I would remember the players by their shoes.
Mm.
Always. I know Adidas Superstars. You remember those?
Yeah, yeah.
At that time, that was the shoe. So anytime I would see something different than the Adidas Superstars, I remember just like cluing in on those players, like maybe a new Nike model, like the new Hyperdunks, an 8, like something like that. That would just be like. So for me, there's like certain shoes that I remember. Like I remember my sister, the boys team for LCI, their center, he wore, I don't even know his name. I know he blocked a lot of shots, but their center wore green being Jordan 5s.
And dang.
Yeah, so just he wore them while playing.
Yeah.
And then I remember there was another player, I went into the locker room and I snuck around the locker room to look at their shoes. I was like, nah. So I like loved, like, it's a genuine passion, and I have more passion about shoes than I do basketball, football. Like, it's truly like, I don't know, it's very nostalgic for me.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's all about hype. But for me, it's like, it's been always more than just that hype about shoes. It's been more than nostalgia and getting shoes that I've wanted for years. I don't know. I love sneakers.
So what would you say is your favorite shoe in your collection? If you could go down to one.
Someone asked me this yesterday, actually. I think it's not a hype shoe. It's not crazy expensive, but I've been trying to look for them for about 10 years now. The Jordan 11 Concord, but from 1995.
Right.
So I still have the size 9, my size, brand new, dead stock, still in the original box, everything. That's if my house was burning down, not even the most expensive shoe.
Right.
But if I was to pull one shoe out and save something, it would be those for sure. That's my favorite shoe.
What do the soles look like?
They're starting to yellow for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have that yellowing, but it's actually like the condition of them is crazy. Like it's insane. And then these I've started wearing these a lot because I think these and the Jordan 11 Concord, best shoes of all time.
Yeah, the Chicagos are tough.
It's just like it's the best shoe. I love that.
So, I mean, like you said, you grew up loving them from a young age. Who were some of the people that inspired you in the shoe game to kind of take your love to the next level?
Yeah. I used to watch a lot of YouTube. So I would watch like unboxings.
Right.
People like, like, what up, YouTube? This is this. Today we're going to be unboxing this. And I would watch unboxings for days, like every day. Just people simply unboxing a shoe and then just like showing the shoe. And the quality of these videos are so bad. I look back at them now for nostalgia purposes and it's so bad. But I think, let me think. I'm trying to think of like specific people that would bring out shoes. You're talking about like basketball players or just?
Don't matter. It could be lifestyle. Just someone who helped you.
Yeah.
Your love for shoes.
There's a YouTuber. It's Nightwing 2310 or something, and he started doing performance tests.
Oh yeah.
So
okay.
And his YouTube channel was super. No one watched it, and now he makes money off. Like that's how he lives.
Yeah.
I would say he's up there, Nightwing. And then there's some other Jumpman Bostic. He's another YouTuber. He's like a basement of Jordans. This whole basement is full of Jordans. I'm trying to think of all the. And then there's just guys that you grew up watching in high school.
Yeah.
Just always just look fresh. You're just like,
I want to look like
they just had nice. You're like, what shoes has he got on today? And honestly, I look back and I think, like, how did some of these kids work? I don't know how I did it because I had my senior year, I think I had like 12 pairs that I would rotate through just to play in. So I don't know how I did that.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a thing. I mean, I got 2 kids on my team right now, and like they're buying the Kobe Protros, like really? Yeah, and I'm just like, where are you getting this cash?
Yeah,
I mean,
all my money that I did make growing up went sneakers,
and that's how it goes for them too.
Yeah.
They're working strictly for sneakers.
Yeah.
But okay, so going on to the next topic, you were the first one out of our friend group to start working out and taking your physique more seriously than the others. What made you start working out, and how do you still approach that today?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It's funny. It's so crazy because then we got guys like Tanner McLaughlin who are just like tanks. And if he's watching this, like he knows, like I used to beat him up. And if you know Tanner McLaughlin, look him up because I mean he's going to the NFL. He's huge. So it's interesting that like even thinking about that I was the first one. I don't know. I think for me it started out of insecurity, if you want my honest opinion. And I think I remember this memory vivid at my brother's basketball game, and one of my friends was like I was putting on my shoes or something. I can't remember if he was like jokingly giving me a back massage or something like that. And I remember he was like, dude, you're so bony. And this was, I think, grade 9. And I remember I couldn't stop thinking about it for like a week. I just couldn't stop thinking about the fact that he thought I was so bony. So a week later, I was in the gym. Starting working out, and then it kind of just became more routine and habitual. But I love working out. I do. But I've been definitely in a little bit of a lump. I think physical, as far as my physical health, like I'm probably like what 15, 20 pounds lighter than my peak.
Okay.
And I think that's been affected by other things like mental things like that. So right now I'm actually in the process of getting back to the gym after about like 7-8 months of being kind of, so I'm starting to, it's a very humble process. It's a very humble, like I'm literally just doing push-ups, doing whatever I can to kind of get back.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel that even me, like I had a back injury pretty much 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
I heard about that. How is that?
I'm finally getting over it.
Really?
Finally. So I'm kind of like, I haven't even really got back in the gym. I've went once or twice, but even just the 2 months, like,
dude, it's crazy. Even a week, if you're really consistently working out and lifting and eating good and just like, man, 1 week, you feel like
it makes the mental go too, for sure. And those two do
confidence.
Yeah, confidence. Because just even that feeling after you finished working out, or as you're pushing through, right?
Yeah.
When you don't have that, it's hard. And like, I've still been pretty good with the eating, but it definitely goes hand in hand. Because once you stop lifting, you're not as strict with your food.
Oh,
right. Like, because you're like, when I'm working out, I have a reason to only eat this and get my protein in. But then some days are like, oh, well, I'm not lifting.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm going to eat that thing. Maybe I shouldn't, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Even if it's to a smaller degree, it does mess with you when you have.
That's crazy that you're kind of in a similar position of just kind of getting back. It's hard. It's hard to just step in the gym when you're not as big. You feel like skinny, you feel weak, you're like touching those weights, and it's just like, oh. But when you're good, oh man, like when you're in that good phase of working out, when you feel strong, you feel in shape, you want to go to the gym. You're like, the results. But man, I have so much respect for people that like just start going to the gym, because it's like it's still
a huge thing, and it's hard, like you said, because I remember when I first started working out, which was 4 or 5 years ago now. I remember for probably like 6 months, I think even a couple of my friends were bugging me to get in the gym, and even I think my mom and my sisters were bugging me to get in the gym. And I always played basketball, but I never weightlifted, so I never learned how to weightlift. And I think for people, that's half the battle,
that's
right?
So true.
Because no one wants to go in there when they already feel insecure about their body, and go in there and look stupid in front of people who they think that's what I want to be, right? So
that's so true.
I think that's so tough. And for people who feel that way, just go. Like, as I got further into the gym, like you said, like I had the most respect for the people who first walk in the gym, right?
First time.
Because it's a daunting thing, but it's an amazing journey, and you just have to start. You know, and I obviously look at the big bodybuilders or the people who are just shredded.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm like, oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But like where I get my motivation is when I walk into the gym and I see a guy in a wheelchair and he's at the gym lifting.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
doing
damn.
something. Yeah. Oh, 100%. But
Right?
or even someone that's like maybe a little more overweight, and I don't know, I saw an Instagram video the other day, and it was like kind of making fun of that idea, and I'm like, like what? Where are we getting to as far as going to the gym? It's just like the gym. I think that's what makes the gym hard too, is ego. I think there's a lot of ego that goes into. I mean, that's what started my weightlifting, was ego, purely ego, just because I should be in the gym. I need to be bigger. It can't be bony. But I do think it's a beautiful thing when you get past that point of ego, and you get past the point of just caring how good you look. That's been a game changer for me. Because man, I used to work out simply just because of insecurity.
Of course. And I think that's why most people do end up getting started, because no one really knows that good feeling you get, right? But like you said, once you get past that first stage of just caring about how you look, because I actually tell a lot of my friends and my family, like, if me 5 years ago could look at me now, I would probably never go to the gym. Because you think that in a year, if I go real hard, I can get shredded.
Yeah.
I've been in very good shape. I'm still in pretty good shape, like no doubt, but like never washboard abs, any of that stuff. But the feeling that you get is more than that appearance that you think that you're going for.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And I think that's where the gym becomes like a good place. I think I had a hard time with bodybuilding for a while, like this idea of like competitions, because I used to think it was just like so self-absorbed, so like, and when I was lifting heavy, I cared more about performance, as far as what I was lifting, how much I could lift for my body weight and that kind of thing. So I don't know, but I've come to know that like even bodybuilders, like, they're not self-absorbed. It's people, I mean, making judgments about people because of how shredded they are, I don't think it's right. I don't think that's right for me either to do.
Of course.
But I think once you care more about the feeling, that's where it's like, rather than the appearance, feeling over appearance is definitely good.
I agree. So you have got to see a lot of places through work, and what work allows you to do. We started our lives, growing up in a small populated area and a very one-sided way of thinking. A lot of people see where we're from.
Yeah.
So where we grew up versus where you are today, what you've seen in your past, probably 6-7 years, how has it shifted your perspective since you were a kid?
Holy, yeah. Well, it's getting out of like, for me, it was getting out of Southern Alberta. I think that was like that was definitely one of the biggest things for me as far as these last few years. Being able to serve a mission in England, Manchester, and then being able to, like you said, being able to see things and that kind of thing. I think seeing things and going places and getting out of Southern Alberta has been really cool for me. But I think what has been the biggest thing for changing my perspective, is that kind of what you're asking, more the perspective change that's affected? I think the biggest perspective change has come through unlearning things.
Okay.
It's like a crazy quote. I'm going to pull it up right now. I saw this on Instagram, like, I can't remember, like a few months ago. And I think we always talk about learning new things. We need to learn new things and like the importance, and there is beauty in learning new things. But I think there's also like a lot of beauty in unlearning things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of peeling back layers instead of trying to always add new layers on.
Not thinking that everything you learn is so concrete.
Exactly. And I think that's, for me, has been the biggest perspective change. And I think this quote is really cool. It's, I have to let go of what I know so that I can grow, because how can I know what I do not know if I cannot let go of what I think I know? And I think that's been for me, mixed with travel and experience is the perfect combination for gaining a new perspective, but kind of unlearning some habitual things that have been in my life, and kind of being open to hearing other ideas, other perspectives, I think has been cool. You can still be grounded in your ways. Like, you can still have values in your own morals, and this is what I feel is right for my living, but you have to be willing to hear other points of view. And I think that's powerful, to just get past that point of, like, I could get into politics. Obviously, there's liberals and then conservatives, but I think if you can get past the title, being titleized as someone, and just kind of be open to this idea of why do they actually think that, like, and I think another quote that I love is like, I think you should seek to understand before you expect to be understood.
Right.
And I think that's also helped me, is trying to actually build on that. And I suck at, because we all want to be understood, and I always want to be understood, but as I've chose to understand others first, it's helped me become understood. So
right, and that's hard, because in everyone's DNA is to be a little bit selfish that way, right? You think through your own mind, and you come first to you. So you're only thinking mostly about other people's opinions on how it affects you, not just their own life and then how it comes to you. So that is definitely big, and I think everyone can, think of that every day and just be a little bit more mindful, because even if you get to have a bunch of great experiences, meet a bunch of great new people with different ideas, it doesn't matter if you're not open to hearing it. Right? There's a difference from just hearing it and actually taking it in.
I can't. It's like a teacher can't teach a student that doesn't want to be taught. Like, you're not going to teach them anything. So
right. So we talked about, getting
Canadian. We talked about. I've sounded so Canadian. It's crazy. I think I'm losing a little bit of my Canadian.
Really? No, you're chilling. So we talked about the physical health and getting in the gym. But as we both know, that is only half the battle, right? And as we grow older and become more aware of mental health, just touch upon how valuable it is to be mindful of your own mental health and how it can affect your life as well.
I think I was actually thinking about just this idea as I drove here to your house, and I was just thinking about two phrases, and it's grit and grace. Two phrases that I love, two words that I think encompass how we should all live. But I think a lot of us, most of us, I think we require a lot of grit from ourselves, and we want, to work hard, keep working hard, be successful. You always hear like motivational speakers like talk about like be the first one to wake up, be the first one at the gym, last one to leave, do this, do that, like work harder than everyone, you'll be more successful. If you want it as bad as you want to breathe, you're going to be successful. Like, kind of like slamming this idea of grit in our face, but we forget to give ourselves grace. And I think if you just require grit, I think that's where we can kind of fall apart as humans. And I think a lot of us do. And now there is a difference, obviously, between mental health and mental illness. And I think a lot of people have mental illnesses, and I think that's where medical profession, medical help, those more than just grace for yourself, because it's not that easy just to be like, be gritty and have grace. Like anyone can just say have grace. some people really need help, and I think
for sure,
and I think that's key. But everyone struggles with mental health, and I think we all can just have a little bit of grace for ourselves, like as we kind of go through life a little bit. That's what I've learned, at least.
I would definitely have to agree with you. I can only speak for myself, but I know so many others as well. It is easy to be so hard on yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, oh, I'm not the first one in the gym. Oh, I didn't wake up before work to do this like I said I was going to do. Then you beat yourself up all day and let it affect the rest of your day. I will be the first to say that I am super bad for that, right? Like, and it's the easiest thing to do, and all it does is spiral into more and more. And yes, you got to be honest with yourself on what you want, and you can't just let yourself get away with, all the pleasures that you can take right now instead of, going for the more long road. But everyone is human, and no one does this life perfectly. So no one is going to love yourself more than you. And that is a big thing. You're not always going to be as strong as you want, as tall as you want, as smart as you want, anything, right? Even if you work super hard, you're always going to think, I can work a little bit harder. Right? But have love and compassion for yourself. Because the more that you do that for yourself allows you to do it for others.
No, it's true. And it's interesting, like we all, whether you're a Christian, whether you're not a Christian, we all kind of know when Jesus teaches to love your neighbor, love God. But it's interesting because he also teaches to love your enemy, and do good to those that hate you or harm you, or just really anyone that does you kind of dirty. But I think it's interesting because a lot of times we are our own enemy. And I think when he says that, love your enemy, I think he's also saying, hey, you gotta love yourself too. If you're an enemy. And then he also says, like, love thy neighbor as thyself. You can't really love someone else if you can't love yourself. It's really tough to do that. So,
and it is nice that, for the past few years at least, it has been pushed more publicly than ever before with, celebrities and professional athletes coming out and talking about their struggles. Because before, a lot of people, at least myself, you would always think, oh, wow, if my life can be this great and I can make all this money, I will never have these struggles. So then you listen to all that rah, get up, be successful, and everything else is going to work out. But that is not the case, and we all do need to not only be nicer to ourselves, but realize that everyone else goes through these feelings as well. So even if, someone is having an off day and they're rude to you, have compassion, be easy on them like you would yourself.
100%. I think it's Western culture. Like, I don't, like, I feel like Western culture is doing something wrong. Like, in a way, like, yes, there's like the American dream, like that North Americans live, you can go from nothing to everything. But like, there's like countries out there. I was watching like this other podcast, and there's countries out there that prioritize rest.
Okay.
Like, we prioritize hard work, earning your pay, working almost every day of the year for your paycheck. You know what I mean? That's the happy life. There's other countries that are much more, I feel like, lean towards the idea of grace rather than grit. I think Western culture is very like gritty. We all want to, obviously we have lazy, there's going to be lazy people everywhere, but that whole idea of the American dream versus what other countries are like. Some countries have naps, like we're like naps throughout the day. Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't do that. Like, that's weird. Like, that's lazy kind of thing. So it's just interesting to see the perspective changes, and maybe realizing that rest is also important.
Right. And that is more of a Europe and those sorts of countries. Like I think it's just countries like Sweden, that have things like that, right? And I think even France, like, has like more intensive labor laws against working overtime and stuff like that.
Yeah, and this isn't even meant to be like political or anything. I just think there's an interesting like it's all about perspective, and my perspective has really changed because of going back to your question originally in the podcast, like seeing other cultures, seeing other places, meeting other people, new people, kind of thing, seeing their perspective of feeling like this, what is joy versus like what we define as joy, like what do you define as joy? What do you define as joy? And I think we all have different definitions of what joy is, and I think it's all perspective. So yeah, I don't know, I've been thinking about that recently, just like there's something that Western culture is doing that other cultures aren't doing, but there's also vice versa. It goes both ways. But man, like rest, I never thought rest was important until this last year of my life. I've realized that it's okay to rest. Like, it really, it's okay. Like
you're not lazy.
You're not lazy. So
yeah. We kind of talked about this at the start of the podcast, but we're gonna go more in depth. So with your job now in sales, you're very competitive, right? It's a very competitive field. How has sports growing up taught you and helped you with your competitive nature going into a field like sales?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. I hate to lose, and I know you know that, and I know you hate to lose too. And I think growing up, and especially like a climate like Southern Alberta, where it's like very competitive, there's this vibe of high school sports of like, there's this competition, you want to beat each other. I think that's definitely played a role growing up in an environment like that, going into a field like sales, but also just I feel like even growing up, maybe not always being like the tallest guy. Like I was always a little smaller. I was always, a little undersized, maybe not the fastest, maybe not this or whatever, the classic underdog. And I think I always kind of took a little bit of a life with a chip on my shoulder. And so I kind of feel like I took that into my job, a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, kind of like, almost like proving more to myself than to others.
Right.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like I've disappointed myself, like in sports throughout. I had so much ambition to play college basketball. I got injured. Not that I think I would have necessarily played college basketball, but I feel like that was a disappointment. Growing up, I wanted to play professional soccer. So I feel like I always kind of had these little bit of like, man, I never wanted to take sports as far as I
wanted to.
Going into sales, I'm like, finally, this is maybe something that I can kind of bring that same attitude of like, no, I'm going to try to beat you. You know, you're good. I'm going to try to beat you as well. So, yeah, it's interesting. So,
and that's funny that you say, like, you talk about being the underdog, right?
Yeah.
Because
classic.
Yeah, I mean, but
classic underdog story.
Yeah, even thinking about that in my own right, like being from a smaller town, right? Like, I could always prove it in my small town, playing basketball as a kid that I was the guy, but then I come, into a bigger situation. That's what I always felt growing up as a kid too. So I think it's funny. I think everyone has an underdog story, even if you don't think so.
It's so true. Yeah, it is. It is so true. No one has like all the glory. And a lot of these guys that had all the glory, let's say in even Southern Alberta, these guys that had all the glory in high school, some of them aren't even doing anything. Like they're not playing any sport. Like that glory, it's all perspective too, right? Like as far as like sports go and sports are concerned of like what is the glory, you know? Like, you know what I mean? So
what are you winning besides the banner on the wall at the old high school, right? And
that's my issue. So if a lot of Southern Albertans might be watching, but that's my only issue is I feel like Southern Alberta has a hard time moving past like the old high school days. Even though the old high school days are good, I miss them. Like I miss them so much, especially like sports and stuff like that. I feel like Southern Alberta could.
Right. I mean, I see that as well. I mean,
but it's fun. It's not bad. It's not a bad thing. It could be a lot worse, but it
is. It's very wholesome. It's very wholesome, right? But I do see it like being able to give back to the community and be a coach, right? You just see it's the next cycle of kids, and the next it's the 10 years younger dads coaching their kids, right? And I mean, it's awesome, right? Like some people want to live for that, and that's great. I mean, I could only imagine having, you know, a son who wants to do the same things that I love, right? That's 100%. An amazing thing, but it's like you said, it's definitely a Southern Alberta thing, and I'm sure, you know, places down in Texas got the same thing, right?
It's not just Southern Alberta. I should say that, but that's all I've known. Right. Is like this Southern Alberta like vibe of like just, and so I think I'm grateful for it because of how I've been growing up, raised, or whatever you want to say, has really impacted how I've kind of gone about my sales, kind of in school, just everything in general. Kind of just want to be the best in everything that you do. Sounds cheesy, but yeah.
You've done two things that are very character defining: door-to-door sales and going on a mission for your church.
Yeah.
Going door to door is a very tough thing.
Yeah.
Especially when people don't want you there sometimes.
Yeah.
What is the craziest story you have?
From door to door or mission?
From either.
Either or. I think door to door, you come across a lot of people that are angry, a lot of people that call the cops on you. You get kicked out of neighborhoods all the time, especially in the South. I work in South Carolina, so especially in the South where, you know, you got crazy HOAs. I haven't really had anything in the door-to-door industry. I've had, like I said, a lot of angry people. My friend got a gun pulled on him. Door-to-door wasn't... Door-to-door, you just get angry people. But my mission's crazy because thing about door-to-door is you're selling a bug service in a state that needs bugs. Bugs, right. Especially in South Carolina. But when, for example, you're in a country that hates God, like England, not really hates God, but very not religious, and then you get put in there to just cold call and talk to people about God, there's a lot more crazy stories. But like in England, I remember there's a door, me and my companion were knocking, and they sicked 3 dogs on us. 2 of them were huskies, and then they wanted to fight us, and like just stupid stuff like that, just like wild stuff like that. I had a guy chase me down. This is actually a great story. I had a guy chase me down, and he had cocaine all underneath his nose, and then he screamed and chased us for about half a mile, asking us for cocaine. Cocaine. It was just like funny stories like that. You just, when you meet a lot of people, because door to door and your mission, you're meeting random strangers. Yeah, it's crazy how you realize how many people have so crazy lives. Like, not in a bad way, but like there's a lot of people out there. We get so attached to our own little life that we forget that there's so many other.
Right. On your mission, was there ever a time where you kind of knocked on the door and they were giving you some shit, and then they ended up kind of listening and turning around?
Yeah. No, I had a couple of people that their initial response is very, who are you? What do you want? And it's crazy how people can like flip a switch with kindness. And I think on my mission, I developed a skill to be kind. It's crazy what it can do. It's crazy how people are so quick to be angry, and then when you show them kindness, they'll switch. Not all the time, but they're most likely to switch if you show them kindness than as opposed to just flipping the switch back off on them. So I definitely had a few stories and examples like that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even imagine. I mean, I heard one story of a guy from around here. I think this was actually at Tanner McLaughlin's house. This guy, I think he went to Argentina.
Was it his cousin?
Yeah. I remember. What was it? Something like this guy pulled a knife on.
Well, his companion was in the bathroom or something. It's like, whoa. He's like dodging it. I had a knife pulled on. Like, I had a knife pulled on me. Like, I had some pretty crazy things. Like, I mean, we had like devil possessions, like literal houses that were possessed with evil spirits, like things like that. But I do remember that stuff. I know it was his cousin. I remember his cousin's like, that's so funny that you were there. You were probably like, what is a mission? Like, what the heck? Yeah, sitting on the edge of your chair listening to this mission story. There's some crazy mission stories, that's for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I would just like to say, I think everyone can gain some perspective from not only listening to people like you, but anyone who has an open mind and actively thinks about not only themselves and how you run your life, but how everyone runs their life and how that genuinely affects everybody, you know, and not being selfish and not being getting down and getting gritty, like you said, but also having grace. I would just like to say thank you for coming on. Taking the time.
100%, brother.
Appreciate it, brother.
Of course.
For you guys listening, thank you for still listening. I hope you guys got some value out of this. This guy has gone through a ton of life experience, and I know that he is one of the most genuine dudes I've ever met. He has continued throughout his years to get more genuine, and it's always amazing to see where you go.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate you. Really love you. He's an amazing man. Lincoln's an amazing man, so appreciate it.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.